Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Rad&Dire Cup 2015. We are now down in the lower bracket portion of the competition. And this is going to be our first best of one coming your way between Newbee.Y and iG.V. So a couple of the secondary squads of these two teams facing off against one another here. I'm Basskip. I would say that I was joined by Mr. BTS Gods, but he is unfortunately missing in action at the moment. He was supposed to be streaming and casting, and I was supposed to be co-casting. I have not a clue where he is, but looks like I'm just going to keep on going here, and this is going to be a solo cast from me. So apologies to those of you who are looking forward to a Gods cast. I was certainly looking forward to casting with him, but there you go. So let's get ourselves underway with this game. Newbee.Y going to get rid of the Invoker. We're going to continue to see this very prevalent Earth Spirit ban as iG.V also get rid of the Gyrocopter here. In terms of our overall schedule today, I will pick that. We'll pull that up very quickly. Let's have a look-see. Where is it?
Radiant team pick.
Alright, so it's going to be this matchup, which is Newbee.Y versus iG.V. Then we're going to be having the eHome versus Fantuan match. That is going to be followed by the winner of this match versus... so the winner of this match versus CDEC, and then that'll be followed by the winner of eHome versus Fantuan versus... LGD, I believe. So, that's the schedule for the rest of the day. We've got tons of action. There's another best of 3 after all of that as well, so we're going to make some very deep progress into the lower bracket today. And I believe the tournament actually wraps up tomorrow, so pretty short event overall, but still had some pretty great Dota so far. What else have we got? Newbee.Y choosing to ban out the Doom here. iG.V going to be picking up the Tusk early on, so nothing too shocking. We still see all of these mid pulls and all the shenanigans that you're able to pull off with the Tusk, so I'm definitely expecting that we're going to be seeing him as an early pick quite a bit, at least until that gets changed. And then what are Newbee.Y going to fire back with? I do have to admit that I'm not ultra familiar with either of these two teams, so don't necessarily have the best information in terms of what they're going to be doing with the draft. I believe both of these teams kind of got run over yesterday as well in their best of 3 series up in the upper bracket, so it's been a little bit difficult to judge which of these two teams is better. I recognize more of the players on Newbee.Y, and there was a little bit of talk about iG.V qualifying into this tournament through a relatively easy bracket or something like that. So I guess from that perspective, I am going to favor Newbee.Y here. Notably, one of the things that we pointed out yesterday is that LE from Newbee.Y has actually been he's been abducted up to the actual full Newbee squad, and they've actually sent Chizbug, which is this 3-2-1, down to the Newbee.Y team here. So we'll see how he does. But Oracle and Netstalker just going to be the opening. Not a whole lot of counter push. Not a whole lot of push to begin with on iG.V so far, so this could actually just become a very scrappy game, potentially, between the Tusk and the Nightstalker running around trying to accomplish some very similar things, potentially out of the early game. That Dazzle, which we've seen be very prized so far this competition, has made it all the way through, so maybe iG.V considering something along those lines. But nope, just gonna grab some more brawlers as they do just pick up the Undying. So we could see some very early 5-on-5 teams just running at one another here, potentially. In terms of how the lanes are shaping up, not 100% sure. Tusk Undying was a very popular dual offlane combo not too long ago, so we could be seeing a little bit of that here. Newbee.Y just gonna have to make sure that they draft appropriately to deal with that. I think one of my favorites to deal with these kind of Tusk dual lane off lanes is to just go for the safe lane Queen of Pain. You can blink away every single time the snowball starts up, so be it a Tusk Undying, be it a Tusk Techies back in the day. always seems to do somewhat all right. The Jar Cup has already been banned out, so they've already kind of protected their Undying from that perspective. So if Newbee.Y want to deal with it in lane, it's going to have to be a little bit different in terms of how they approach it. Meanwhile, we've got the Ember Spirit as the ban out for IG Vitality, and the Alchemist being removed from the pool by Newbee.Y.
5 seconds remaining.
Looks like both teams kind of realizing that they're both going
Reserve
for
time.
the same game plan at the moment, which just seems like lots of early fighting and aggression. So going to get rid of some heroes that could potentially enable that. And
Dire
IG
team
Vitality also
back.
going to be banning at the Beastmaster here. We did see a very successful Beastmaster played by CDEC Youth in the previous series. So given that it is a LAN, I would anticipate that all of these teams are sitting around and watching one another play.
10 seconds
So
remaining.
maybe taking a page out of their book there, or at least a little bit worried
5
about the
seconds
Beastmaster
remaining.
from that perspective. Both teams still have tons of reserve time remaining, so as we
Reserve
maneuver through this
time.
next little bit of the draft, could see things slow down a little bit, perhaps. But no, Newbee.Y just going to keep up the
Radiant
pace.
team
They
pick.
get rid of Disruptor, and then immediately head into Phantom Lancer, who is a pretty decent answer to the Undying, honestly, all things
Dire
considered, and
team
doesn't
pick.
struggle too much against the Tusk either, being able to get out of the shards with the Doppelganger, so seems like a solid grab. Can always be a little bit annoying for the Phantom Lancer when you're fighting the Undying around some high ground terrain where the Undying can just throw the Tombstone up on a cliff, and then you can't actually get to it, and your illusions just summon a million zombies, and you end up in a very bad way. But
10 seconds
should hopefully for the
remaining.
most part be able to deal with it. IG Vitality just going to grab themselves a Shadow
5
Fiend.
seconds
I
remaining.
think their lineup could have done with a mech carrier, so that seems like a solid grab. Though the Tusk and the Undying are both
Reserve
capable
time.
mech heroes in their own right, and at the very least IG Vitality get themselves a little bit more AoE to potentially deal with this Phantom Lancer. Newbee.Y still have the benefit of 2 more picks to grab whatever is going to be on the mid lane, and they've also got the advantage of having this roaming Night Stalker potentially making his way around and applying some pressure. But the problem that they might be running into is that IG Vitality are really putting together the 5-man lineup, while Newbee.Y seem to be going for something a little bit more skirmish oriented at the moment.
Queen of Pain. Radiant
Okay.
team
Do you
pick.
see the Quap coming out? But I think that's more than likely just going to be the mid lane for Newbee.Y. So it gives them a little bit of team fight to work with. They're still somewhat squishy on the whole, but there isn't a ton of lockdown on IG Vitality right now, as they're just looking like they're going
Dire
to
team
go all in
back.
on this push, grabbing the Vengeful Spirit. Could be a support, could be a core. Only time will tell, I suppose. Gives them a little bit of extra lockdown to work with. What
10
else do we have
seconds
going on
remaining.
here? What else can Newbee.Y do?
Radiant
So they've
team
now got the
back.
Queen of Pain and the Night Stalker to put some pressure on the mid lane, so they should hopefully be able to do something about the Shadow Fiend on mid. Of course, stacking was nerfed a little bit as well, so I think that's also part of the reason that we haven't been seeing quite so much
10 seconds
SF
remaining.
as of late, but just going to see the Shadow Shaman banned out. I
5
feel like IG
seconds
Vitality are
remaining.
kind of covered in terms of tower damage, but the Tombstone combined with the Mass
Reserve
Serpent Words
time.
could have actually been very difficult to deal with. IG Vitality kind of having the opportunity to just set the battlefield and take a fight, so it's going to be very important for Newbee.Y that they're able to make full use of all of their movement abilities and their move speed to be able to kite away from the Tombstone if they're actually going to be taking full 5-on-5 fights. I guess they might be looking for some kind of a dual lane for the Night Stalker in the off lane, that, or they might be running him as a support. So Newbee.Y still do have room for another off laner here. Though I'm not exactly sure what kind of form that would take. And I do wonder if... See, it feels like the Phantom Lancer is going to be pretty heavily pressured. The Oracle might
Dire
be able
team
to
pick.
help him out on the safe lane, but I feel like the Undying and the Tusk are still going to be a nuisance and keep the Phantom Lancer down in the early stages of the game. The Queen of Pain would survive much better on that safe lane, but that would require that they put the Phantom Lancer mid, and that doesn't seem crazy promising. I guess they could put the PL and the Oracle mid and have the Oracle help out a little bit, and zone at level 1, and then put the Queen of Pain on the safe lane,
10
and that might
seconds
draw
remaining.
the attention of the Tusk and the Undying
5
towards the mid
seconds
lane, and then
remaining.
they can do some kind of rotation after that. It depends on how many steps Newbee.Y are going to try and
Reserve time.
plan ahead here, but what do we got? Tusk, right, Darkseer was the ban out, so Newbee.Y, what are they going to find for the offlane? Just going to grab the Phoenix.
Radiant
Alright, they don't
team
really have a whole lot to combo with it here. You know, there's no big AoE stuns, no upheaval, nothing really for the Supernova. iG Vitality are a very right-click heavy lineup though, so from that perspective, it looks like the Spirits are going to be able to do a lot of work. Gives them a little bit more counter push as well, which is definitely
10 seconds remaining.
not too shabby. And how are iG Vitality going to fire back?
5 seconds remaining.
Again, they don't really have the most reliable lockdown in the world. Once they get that first stun, they've got pretty good chain
Reserve
stun
time.
with like Snowball Punch into Magic Missile, something along those lines, but might be a little bit difficult to deal with the Phoenix here potentially. They're just gonna grab themselves a Clink, so they're all in on the right click damage really. Oracle probably not going to be finding a whole lot of value out of his disarm on his teammates at the very least, but could be pretty valuable on the Shadow Fiend and the Clinks. And iG Vitality do have to be careful about how they choose to take these fights. The Clinks to me feels a little bit weird in terms of the 5-man. They've got alright sustain from the Undying, but I don't know. It feels to me like something like a Jug could have been very good here. This actually would have been a very good Legion Commander game, I think, aside from maybe the Oracle causing some problems. But it's a Legion Commander is amazing against Phoenix, really good against the Queen of Pain, and also really quite good against the Phantom Lancer as well. But no, unfortunately, not going to be seeing any Legion today. We've just got Vengeful Spirit TPing down to the safe lane, planting down that Observer Ward, and we can get ourselves underway with this game. We've got best of 3 score indicators up at the moment, but I do believe that this is... I'm pretty sure this is just the best of 1. Yeah, that's what the schedule's got marked, so it looks like maybe just a minor issue with hosting the lobby. So both of these teams with their lives on the line. But yeah, the other tricky thing for iG Vitality is that they're lacking a little bit in the push sustain department, potentially. Soul Rip is pretty crazy, but we'll see how it does. And they're also going to have to be careful about how they pick and choose
30 seconds to
their
battle.
fights. They don't have I guess they do have a guaranteed mech potentially with the Shadow Fiend, but they could be somewhat squishy if the Queen of Pain gets off to a really good start. Netstalker are going to cop a lot of damage here to start things out, but does have his armor, his regen, and his stat shield, so looks like he's going to be alright. Does get driven back, which is not so great for him. And Newbee.Y, realizing that there's going to be a bunch of heroes on the bottom lane, do start swinging over towards top to try and secure that bounty, but Tusk is here to try and grab it. Is he going to get it? Does manage to pick it up. Snowball to dodge. And we'll be able to keep on running. Saw that the blink was picked up by the Queen of Pain. That means no sting to slow him down. And Tusk is just going to take a casual walk, making his way back, so he's going to be pretty happy with how this all started out. Gets the bounty rune in the off lane. We'll be able to pick up his shards pretty quickly. Started playing a little bit of pressure. Looks like the Undying is opting to start out mid to give the Shadow Fiend a little bit of a hand. And given that the Shadow Fiend started with the bounty rune and the Queen of Pain did not, this is already looking alright for the Shadow Fiend. This is a very Queen of Pain favored matchup, but if the Undying's just going to stick around, then I think it's going to be fine. Do have a really early point in the Sunray, actually. Tusk in some trouble top. Does end up with his salve canceled, but it looks like that probably saved his life there. Also getting into the fog, and Phantom Lancer not being able to get off one more Spirit Lance. So I said that he was set up for a good start, but he doesn't actually get a single point of experience beyond the bounty rune 100 that he grabbed. And looks like Newbee.Y actually going to do a very good job of keeping this top lane under control as well. So PL getting some good CS to begin with. And this Clink's already feeling a little bit pressured down here on bottom. He's zoning things out pretty nicely with the Searing Arrows, but it's only level 1 at the moment, and he is chewing through a pretty substantial portion of his mana pool. But looks like the Undying might be heading down towards bottom lane to give them a little bit of an assist as well before too long. So should definitely help in keeping MRR and who is this? I'm trying to remember who the Night Stalker player is off the top of my head, but not actually 100% sure. Might have to look that up when we have a second. Alright, mid lane, Shadow Fiend's still doing alright. Queen of Pain with the 2 points up in the Shadow Strike. Kind of hoping that the lane pushes forward so that she can get the blink behind the SF and give him some trouble, but Y-Chen is actually playing this pretty smart. He's not spamming the raise out just yet. Has actually picked up the second point in the Necromastery, notably. Just trying to keep things over on his hill as much as he possibly can. And yeah, even gonna sit here and tank the creeps just to make sure that it stays right in position. Which is really smart, actually. Invis-Rune for the Undying. Don't know if you can actually get anything done here, though. Sticking around a little bit longer. Got level 2 on the Clinks, but he's just picked up the point in the Skeleton Walk. And they're gonna pop down a Sentry Ward and say hello to the Undying, so alright. Like nothing else to be found there. Newbee.Y do lose control of top lane a little bit, but it looks somewhat intentional. They do have the Bassi turned on right now for the Phantom Lance, so they're gonna come in. Nice snowball to dodge the Lance, but that puts XXS in a pretty tricky situation. Gonna start juking his way through the trees. Does have a salve, and looks like he's going to be able to heal pretty much all the way back up to full, as Newbee.Y are now somewhat trapped between the tier 1 and the tier 2. They've at least still got both heroes here. No help really coming back in from anyone else on IG Vitality, so... Yeah, looks like it's just going to be a bunch of experience with the Tusk. They really wanted to kill him to prevent him grabbing all that EXP, but this is looking like a very fast level 4 as CCC takes the high ground here, gets the Scream off, Fairy Fire along with the Raise. Is Y-Chen going to get the last hit off? He does manage to, picks up the first blood. Looks like he might die to the Shadow Strike. I think one last tick to go. He's going to do some shopping before he dies, but Queen of Pain not completely taking the high ground all the way there. I think could have given herself one more opportunity for an uphill miss from the Shadow Fiend, but he's gonna live. Did the Club actually have a Fairy Fire in reserve? Looks like she did. Didn't pop it. That probably was the difference between getting the kill or not there. And the Shadow Fiend is now completely dominating this mid lane. 22 and 12 against the 10 and 3 Queen of Pain. This does not bode well at all for Newbee.Y, especially given that their lineup needs to be finding the pickoffs and controlling the pace so that this 5-man from IG Vitality doesn't get too crazy. There's a bunch of TPs coming in here on the mid lane as they do go for this dive on Y-Chen. He's still got some stick charges, gets the soul rip off as well. Even gonna pop off his salve just to try and survive through here. And we'll be able to bottle through the remaining Shadow Strike ticks. Phoenix diving in to try and get that, but he's gonna get stunned up and go down. Alright, this Shadow Fiend living life on the edge mid, but he's keeping pace with the opposing Phantom Lancer, who's getting absolute free farm on the opposing safe lane. So this is definitely got to be worrying for Newbee.Y. Queen of Pain with a bad start, pickoffs not working. I guess it's not the biggest deal that the Night Stalker and the Phoenix didn't really accomplish a whole lot there, but the 5-man just has to be nagging at them, even at this early stage, 5 minutes into this game. Phantom Lancer probably going to go for a slightly more combat-oriented build, if I had to guess. Based on the way that this game is going, I think he is going to have to get involved and help out his team. What do we got from the Clinks? Nothing too surprising just yet. Just looks like an Aquila and a Soul Ring being picked up early on here.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
You see the attempted push continuing here for Newbee.Y. We've got a bottle up for the Phantom Lancer, but Tusk continues to just rake in the experience sitting up here on top. Undying's been meandering around the map a little bit, so it has fallen behind somewhat, but still seems like he's doing alright for himself. And Shadow Fiend, what's the build going to be? Well, still just small items for the time being. We'll see if the mech is going to be the target. But it does seem like a very good mech game for the SF here.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
This is still very troubling for the Queen of Pain. Does pick up the pace a little bit again in terms of CS, now 22 and 6, so Shadow Fiend not really able to keep her totally locked out of the lane. But this first Sonic Wave is going to be very crucial. and potentially running around and making something happen. We're still in nighttime for a little bit. Night Stalker's sitting on a Dust of Appearance, but haven't really been able to make anything happen here on the Clinks. Fortunately for the Vengeful Spirit, planting down the Observer Ward, the sentry had just faded, it looks like, from the Dire, and now we do have an attempt on the Clinks' life. That's going to come out. He gets silenced up as CDEC.Y arrives in full force with the Sonic Wave. Vengeful Spirit not even going to be able to TP out. We've got one more Void from the Night Stalker, and that is going to be an easy double kill. Picked up for Newbee.Y on bottom. Alright, so said that Queen of Pain first rotation was going to be extremely important, but as CDEC.Y arrives in style, picks up those 2 kills, and now looking much more secure in his position this game. Phantom Lancer also still just farming up a Storm. Pulling a decent amount of gold at the moment, so we'll see if he is going to finish up some of his smaller items, or if it might be some somewhat early Boots of Travel for him here. And I'm going to try and get some levels bottom, but yeah, Clinks needs to still come back and continue farming the bottom lane, at least for a little bit longer. Probably wants his... Well, first of all, he doesn't have a point in the Strafe just yet, so he needs at least 2 more levels for the Death Pact and the Strafe. And then might be able to start moving around a little bit, though the cores on Newbee.Y are all quite difficult to gank. With just the Clinks. Definitely going to need a little bit of additional help from the Tusk, for example. 8-man Urns coming up, double damage top, bounty bottom. Still some more pressure being done onto this tier 1 top. XXS once again going to come in and hang on to his tower, getting very close to level 6, but just need to be careful. Double damage Queen of Pain in the neighborhood. Are there any TP scrolls at the ready to help out this IG Vitality Tusk? He's got the Snowball to buy some time, probably calling for TPs now. The Shadow Fiend is going to arrive on the scene. Phoenix ready with the beam. They managed to nuke down the Tusk. Can they find anything in return from iG.V? 3, 2, 1, going to try for the TP out, but down he goes. One more raise. Alright. So just ends up being the offlane for the support tower. Did end up going down to the Dire in the midst of all of that, and Clinks even rotating up. So I think that was well worth it for Newbee.Y. Unfortunately, fight recap not going to show us both of those kills, but still worked out all right. Shadow Fiend is continuing to stay pretty scary, so IG Vitality might just be able to rally behind him this game and get something going. And Dying got some levels bottom, but looks like he might just end up dying here. It's a long duration silence popping up the nighttime first. Phoenix swoops through, but does not get the dive onto the Dirge, who's now going to be able to drop down the Tombstone and just keep on running around in circles. Night Stalker in a little bit of trouble. 1 zombie up, 2 zombies up, Snowball coming in. We know that the dive's already been used from the Phoenix. We will not be able to connect through any further with the Ice Shards, but it is going to be Night Stalker taking a spill. I guess Phoenix maybe just not on the same page as the Night Stalker. I think if they get the dive, it's definitely easy pick off. Vengeful Spirit just gonna get Sonic Waved here. Probably gonna die to the tower, it looks like. Alright, that's a bit awkward. Meanwhile, the 2 cores just gonna walk away. Tier 1 tower did get brought down very low, but maybe I'm gonna be able to get the deny there.
Dire's top tower.
Alright, so what do we have in terms of an overall lead? It's about 750 net worth in favor of the Dire, but swinging back in the Radiant direction right now. Pretty much nothing in it in terms of experience. Shadow Fiend, what's the item build going to be? Looks like Shadow Blade coming up? That seems a little bit strange to me when you've got the Clinks on the lineup. It feels like he probably... Well, I feel like he really wants to be the one tanking things up a little bit on the front lines, but instead they're going to make whatever anti-invis that Newbee.Y will pick up just that little bit more valuable. Snowball is going to come in towards the Phoenix. Doesn't have his ultimate just yet, but Tusk's now in some trouble. They get the magic missile out. Can they actually finish this Phoenix off? A couple more auto attacks would have done it, but the zombie's unable to get in range, and now they're going to end up losing the Tusk as Newbee.Y chase past that Tombstone and just find 2 very straightforward kills. Yeah, the only way that they get that kill is if the Snowball catches during the dive, but 2 easy kills for Newbee.Y. Got a bunch of heroes bottom, and away they will go. Looks like we just got Boots of Travel completed for the Phantom Lancer. He's looking pretty rich. And unfortunately, Clinks not really able to do anything at the moment. He's got his level 7, but not the best creeps, and still no point up in the strafes. So I don't know what he's going to be able to do. Looks like it's actually going to be Newbee.Y with the tower lead here. Shadow Fiend coming in. They did a lot of damage out of him. Snowball's going over onto a couple. They get the shards out as well. Good bird damage out of the Phoenix, diving around here. Will be brought down in a couple more auto attacks, but he gets the stick charges off, forces out the Soul Rip. And Phantom Lancer surviving through courtesy of that ultimate from the Oracle. Queen of Pain went jumping in, looking for one more. Doesn't have the blink for a very long time. And will end up dropping. That's the dominating streak actually handed over to the Clinks, which he's going to be very happy about. Nah, the Newbee.Y did successfully bring down that tower, so iG Vitality successfully take the fight to them, but they're still trailing behind a little bit. I think a lot is going to hinge on what kind of pickoffs this Shadow Fiend's going to be able to get with the Shadow Blade. We'll have level 11 soon, so we'll have the second point up in the Requiem. Might be able to go and just get an instant solo kill on the Phantom Lancer or something like that. He's a long way up in the middle lane at the moment. It's dove on. It's just 3 utility heroes, but they've got more than enough damage to bring him down. And that's CDEC.Y even going to arrive just to make 100% sure that he ends up dropping. I thought it was going to be the iG Vitality lineup that ended up 5-manning way more this game, but it's actually Newbee.Y who are bringing more people to the engagements. Tusk had such a good start stealing the bounty and then getting plenty of experience underneath his tower, but he is now 1-3-2, has pretty much nothing to his name. He's actually poorer than the Undying is
Radiant's top
right
tower
now.
is
I
under
don't know
attack.
how that happened, but he has been having a pretty horrible game, actually. Oh well. Nightstalker looking for the wraparound. Just gonna dance back a little bit. Doesn't have his team quite in the position that he would like, it would seem. Dying. Still just chilling under the tower at the moment. Only level 5, so the level 2 Tombstone not too scary. Clinks has been showing top lane. He's got a quarterstaff, so it looks like he wants an Orchid. But that seems like it's gonna take quite some time for him to finish up. And still no point in the strafe either. It looks like he's just kind of full split push mode at the moment. This is weird from iG Vitality, I think. Dire are going to be able to get a couple of nice wards down around the place, keep track of any rotations. The 3 supports on iG.V still not really finding anything. They're all just chilling out on mid lane. They do have a swap available for some kind of initiation, but it looks like the initiation is going to be coming to them. Newbee.Y perched on this high ground. What are they going to do here? Clinks is actually still all the way off over in the Dire jungle, but Newbee.Y are not privy to that information. We've actually got the max Sunray build coming out of the Phoenix this game. Has a Supernova available now as well. Shadow Fiend still just keeping the Shadow Amulet in his stash, I guess not to give away the Shadow Blade, but this first Shadow Blade gank needs to be pretty big, I think. They've sent some heroes towards top lane, but there's no tower to take. Even if they do find this kill on the Queen of Pain, which might be a little bit difficult. Vengeful Spirit gonna come running around the corner in a second, but Queen of Pain won't have to stick around too long. Just gonna leave the siege creep, realizing that there might be a gank coming up her way. So no successful kill. They're gonna take a bunch of damage on the tier 2 tower. TP's now coming in, but Newbee.Y just gonna back up, and CDEC.Y can probably just pop right back out up on top lane and keep on going. The Clink's even gonna reveal himself here. Unfortunately, there's it's a Dragon Lance on the Clinks. Alright. Doesn't seem too terrible. Just gonna cop some damage here from the Quap. Unfortunately, no dust on her. Dragon Lance doesn't seem like a terrible decision. Helps his survivability a little bit. Still no point in the strafe, which I find really curious, but got the Dragon Lance, they've got the Shadow Blade. If there was any kind of a timing for iG.V to try and exploit, it's definitely right now. But Shadow Fiend's just gonna saunter out, show off his Shadow Blade, and not really getting anything done with it. Phantom Lancer, meanwhile, has been farming up a storm. He's been looking really good. Clinks scattered things out a little bit. He may have been scattered himself, though I don't believe that there's any dire vision actually around this corner at the moment. And just 5-on-5 action. Double damage on the Queen of Pain. No level 2 ultimate just yet. High ground advantage does fall to iG.V here. Bounty Rune going to mysteriously disappear, which does give a little bit of a clue as to what's going on here. Shadow Fiend in a pretty good position to get off a Requiem. Newbee.Y going to take the narrow path up onto the high ground, equalizing things somewhat on that front. Clinks needs to be careful. Does not want to reveal himself. The dust is actually going to end up catching both. Is it going to be a defensive swap back? There will be. Silence out of the Vengeful Spirit. The Requiem and the Tombstone both get dropped. So Newbee.Y know that they have to be a little bit careful about how they take this fight, but the Phantom Lancer surges in, cleans up the tomb. They're going to focus onto the Undying next. A little bit further down, the Night Stalker is still chasing, gets the silence onto the Tusk, and now has a Void to follow it up. And looks like more damage will be able to bring it down. Will he be able to snowball? Can't quite get the turnaround. And now Shadow Fiend, a little bit of trouble. Still dusted. Tries for the Shadow Blade, but he's also going to fall. Triple kill for Chizbug. And meanwhile, looks like Clinks is actually just going to tick out to the Shadow Strike, so full team wipe. Newbee.Y making it look easy at the moment, and I just don't know what iG.V can do. They had those two items for that fight, but just couldn't put them to any kind of use. With an experience, now gonna start snowballing out of control a little bit. Speaking of snowball, Tusk is coming in. Will he find this kill? Actually, will be able to bring down the Night Stalker and back himself up. Might even be able to get the... Won't even need to deny this tier 1 tower just yet. Alright, Newbee.Y sticking around a little bit too long after that extremely successful team fight win. Phoenix is just totally maxing out the Sunray, which does give his team a little bit more push sustain, honestly, on top of this Oracle. Is doing really well for himself. 5, 1, and 2 at the moment. And iG.V, what are they doing here? They're just grouped up mid. Tusk is still dirt poor. Where is all of his net worth? Already, he's got an urn now. What can they do here? Let the 5-manning begin. There is a glyph available for Newbee.Y, but no Supernova and no Sonic Wave for a little bit. So I don't know if they're keen on taking this fight. Phantom Lancer, Boots of Travel on cooldown. Looks like he's making the decisions for his team here. They are definitely not going to be doing anything. Phantom Lancer does have his Diffusal Blade completed, I believe. Clinks finally has that point up in the strafe. I don't know what he's going to actually build this game. He could disassemble the Dragon Lance a little bit down the line to pick up a relatively early BKB. It doesn't help him that much. He's still going to get beat to death by the Phantom Lancer. He's still going to get Sonic Waved. But I guess it'll at least help him out a little bit against the Silence and some of the other bits and pieces of magical damage that Newbee.Y do have. We've got the Orchid now completed on the Quap. CCC had a pretty disastrous start to the game. With that botched kill on the Shadow Fiend and getting zoned out by the Undying, but he's caught up just fine. Now 5, 2, and 3. And what are iG.V up to? Is that another smoke? And there's another smoke with the Shadow Fiend leading the way. Still yet to really get a successful pick-off out of this Shadow Blade. It's just, it feels like Newbee.Y are just getting too much value out of staying grouped up. They're dodging both the Clinks ganks and the Shadow Fiend ganks by just playing the exact same way. And I'm still not sure if iG.V are actually going to be able to take a team fight, is the problem. Now that the cooldowns are back up for Newbee.Y, we might even see them try and defend this tier 1 tower potentially. A Radiant Glyph is still available, but it was... maybe it was used, I'm not sure. Radiant Glyph was just not used. They're going to lose their tier 1 tower on the mid lane for free. And everybody on Newbee.Y is going to be able to come back and defend. Looks like Clinks is going to show himself mid. So that is going to put an end to any kind of a push or a team fight that iG.V were going to get on bottom. And instead, Newbee.Y might just be able to finish what they started, going for this tier 2 tower. And fortunately for them, they're pushing the only lane that they have with the tier 1 tower still standing. So iG.V are not in a position to threaten anything aside from just grabbing some random farm around the map. Looks like Shadow Fiend gonna do his best to exploit the dire jungle while he has the opportunity. But this is looking like a pretty free tier 2 tower. From the perspective of the Dire Vision, they don't really see anyone at the moment, so they're playing this really safe. Tier 2 dead. Phantom Lancer getting big. Shadow Fiend working on a BKB. Looks like Clinks also gonna work on that BKB. But it remains to be seen if those BKBs are actually going to be enough to start turning this game around. Night Stalker just working on a straight up Aghanim Scepter. Ags plus Gem. It's going to make life a nightmare for the Shadow Fiend and the Clinks. And Phantom Lancer even just going to stick around here on bottom lane to apply a little bit more pressure since they see so many heroes top. And now, Boots of Traveling in. Night Stalker also TPing. Requiem going to be a little bit of a danger for him. Looks like he might get bursted despite canceling it. Tombstone gets dropped down. They get the false promise off. and let the heals begin. They don't have any earn charges. Sonic Wave gets dropped onto the Undying, but doesn't even finish him off, so looks like we will not be seeing a kill one way or the other, but the top tier 2 does end up going down. There's Phantom Lancer in the midst of all of that. Looks like maybe just ran over to mid lane and continued farming it up. No damage dealt whatsoever to this tier 3 tower, and iG.V are hoping that the Phantom Lancer is actually farming their jungle right now. Though they can clearly see him mid, so I don't know who they're hoping to catch. Maybe this is a Roshan smoke? They've got 3 points in the Wave of Terror. Does seem to be the direction that they're heading in at the moment. They've got the lucky double damage rune spawning at the 22-minute mark as well. Alright, it is a Roshan smoke. I think appreciating that they are behind a little bit, but this is going to be extremely quick with the double damage rune. Shadow Fiend just laying into it here. So it just treads to Agi to speed it up somewhat. Still making very quick work of this. They don't have any sustain whatsoever though, so gonna have to alternate tanking pretty delicately, and then they also need to get out of here safely. Vengeful Spirit gonna pick her items back up. We got the Aegis on the Shadow Fiend now. However, Clinks, his BKB, which he just managed to pick up, is gonna be expended here on mid, and I think Newbee.Y, despite the Aegis being up, might still just be looking for a catch and some more pickoffs, and Shadow Fiend could end up going down twice here. Vengeful Spirit, can she get in range for a swap? No. Just gonna leave the Shadow Fiend for dead. Actually ends up canceling the TP, hiding in the trees here, but has been spotted out by the Phoenix. Looks like Y-Chen's just gonna go down a second time. Vengeful Spirit was scouted by the Phoenix, now just gonna be killed off. And Newbee.Y, well, there was a glimmer of hope there for IG Vitality in picking up the Roshan, but that glimmer is gonna very quickly be extinguished. Phantom Lancer just gonna keep on pushing, getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the minute. Clink's able to take advantage of the Dire jungle at least a little bit to grab some farm, but this Tusk Undying did not prove to be a very potent early game pairing at all for iG.V. I looked at it, it was their first 2 picks. I thought, alright, they're going to be able to scrap, they're going to be able to take those early fights, and be able to get some push going, but there's been some very strange decision making from them, I think. Anyway, at least the Clinks is still getting some farm, which is definitely good news. But what do we got? We got almost a BKB on the Queen of Pain. We got an 8th Lens on the Oracle. Night Stalker 1500 away from his Ags. Phoenix is going for a Yule Scepter, which it looks like he is somewhat close to. And Newbee.Y just kind of choose their next target, which at this point looks like it is going to be the Clinks. Are they getting in range for the Void? They will do so. BKB going to be popped. Might be a little bit late. Clinks is stuck here for a while. It has managed to dispel the dusk, but still doesn't have a skeleton walk for a little bit. So it looks like just everybody on Newbee.Y going to arrive for the feast. All 5 heroes getting their share of the bounty there, and with Clinks dead for 50 seconds and his BKB on cooldown for just a little bit longer than that, I think Newbee.Y going to group themselves up and look for something here. Tusk going to do his best to push out the offlane. Has 1800 gold, so might see a Blink Dagger out of him before too long. Shadow Fiend another couple hundred gold away from his BKB. But this farm gap is starting to open up wider and wider. 1700, 1700, 7500, the net worth advantage, and about 5k experience. Now looking towards this tier 2, there is a glyph available. iG.V just hanging a long way back. None of these supports want to get involved at all. And I am going to call the Tusk a support. He has just not been having a very impressive
Radiant's
game.
middle tower has fallen.
Tier 2 dead. Phantom Lancer TPs to the wrong creep, or cancels his Boots of Travel, or something like that. So it's just going to be Phoenix's job to hang on to the bottom lane, but looks like it's going to be his Yule is pretty much completed once he clears this out, assuming that he grabs the majority of his CS. But alright, we got Blink Dagger up on Tusk, we got BKB on the Shadow Fiend, we have a glimmer of hope for iG.V to try and take some kind of a team fight. Sizing up the Queen of Pain mid. It's going to take some very careful chain stun to get this kill. And QD does need to be careful. What do we got? We got Shadow Fiend also running up here with the Shadow Blade. No sentries down. Now looking over to the Night Stalker, who's just going to be able to run his way up. The rest of the team now joining iG.V. Newbee.Y spread a little bit thin. Phantom Lancer just boots have traveled to the bottom lane, so it looks like he's actually just going to commit and do a little bit more pushing and farming. 20 seconds to go on his boots of travel. Unsuccessful rotation from IG, as Klink's also just going to end up randomly canceling a TP scroll there. I've seen a bunch of random TPs in this game. Alright, Roshan, another 3.5 minutes, or 3 minutes and 20 seconds at the very least, until he's going to be popping back up. Klinks, what's the item build? I got a Crystallis so far, which I find a little bit surprising. No Deso. Does seem like a very efficient damage item. They got a blink forward punch onto the Night Stalker. He snowballed the creep though, and not the hero, so Night Stalker is just going to get out of there. And now Phantom Lancer's going to come TPing in. Does get hit by the Requiem, taking quite a bit of damage. This may have been an overly exuberant TP, but looks like he might be able to survive. No, one more auto attack brings him down. Night Stalker also on the run, very low. Newbee.Y, are they going to try and fight this right now? Queen of Pain a little bit split off from the pack. There is some Radiant Vision scouting her out at the moment. And SCCC going to have to be careful. And now they got the blink in, they got the punch. This time around will they get the snowball? Nope. So blink away from the Quap, and she's going to be A-okay. But big kill to be grabbing there on the Phantom Lancer. I think that was almost 700 gold to the Klinks. And they're just going to continue running in for Chizzbug in some trouble. Snowball forward. They've got the strafe available. He's going to be forced to pop the false promise on himself. XXS, however, now running into the silence. Sonic Wave catches nicely. Phoenix Sun going to be forced up on the cliff just to avoid those auto attacks flying in. They do still end up losing the Oracle anyway. Queen of Pain dancing around with this Arcane Rune, has another blink in, but IG just going to stay grouped up as a mass, and we'll be able to back themselves up. Alright. iG.V, signs of life, going to start bringing the net worth and the experience back a little bit. I think that was, again, somewhat optimistic from Phantom Lancer to be TPing in like that the way that he did, but I think Newbee.Y still feel like they're quite far ahead in this game. What do we got? Minute and a half at least on Roshan. Klinks. Well, might be able to pick up, might be able to complete Daedalus before too long, actually. Picking up quite a bit of damage as we move forward. It is worth noting that IG are starting to chew through their BKB charges relatively quickly, or at least the Klinks is, since he's had 2 BKB charges that haven't done anything for him. But Shadow Fiend's still relatively healthy at 9 seconds. Looks like just going to tank up a bit. Go for an SY. Queen of Pain also going to tank up a little bit. Picks up the plate mail. Probably going to be seeing an AC out of her. Yep. And Assault Cuirass is going to be the buy. And iG.V completely shifting gears now, just staying grouped up for the most part. Continue to look for pickoffs. They do have a bit of vision around the place, which is not too bad for them, but I think that's not going to last too long since the Night Stalker now has his Aghanim Scepter up. And the Oracle should be able to purchase a gem for the team before too long, so Ags and gems should be the solution to any initiation woes that Newbee.Y were having and any map control problems.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
What do we got? Night Stalker gonna find himself an Arcane Rune. Klinks wants to open up here, but it's a very dangerous proposition. Meanwhile, 2 cores for Newbee.Y just gonna put pressure on bottom lane and get some free damage onto this tier 3 tower. That's gonna send everybody packing back for iG.V. And as we get back into everybody just farming the map, you are definitely going to be seeing Newbee.Y take full advantage of their map control and continue to build up the golden experience lead. Night Stalker scouting out the Klinks here on the mid lane. I don't believe he's been seen, in fact. And they're going to be able to jump in here. Also coming out on the back lines, looking to prevent the Vengeful Spirit save. There's going to be a defensive snowball coming out. The Tombstone, nicely placed. A little bit of trouble for the Phoenix. Sonic Wave, however, is going to be able to drop a few down. They will be able to punch the Phoenix and prevent the ultimate. Klinks laying into a few here. They do end up losing the Oracle. Queen of Pain forced to retreat back. And Phantom Lancer actually losing a lot of life in the midst of that fight as well. They got the jump, but they're only going to get the Venge. And iG.V, the right click starting to build up, starting to actually get something done in these fights. Yeah, Phantom Lancer even going to be forced all the way back to the fountain. They did manage to steal, wait, did they steal the gem or is that... no, so that was 3-2-1's gem, and it's now over on the NS. I thought I saw it drop. Maybe the Venge managed to pick it up in between the Oracle dying and dying herself. But, alright, at the very least the gem is going to end up over on the Night Stalker here. So I do have that map control, but it didn't really matter for much on mid lane. Just felt like they couldn't burst down the Clinks. Does have his level 16, so ultimate definitely helping him out quite a bit. And not too far behind the Queen of Pain and the Phantom Lancer. We might actually have ourselves a game here. Looks like Jia just going to be going for a Scotty. How far away is the AC for the Quap? Need to bet another 900 gold before she can pick that one up. Undying still trying to cobble together his mech at the moment. Looks like no, actually does have it completed. And we now have an Eagle Song coming up for the Clink. So this is actually going to be a quarterstaff that later gets built into a butterfly. There is some right click on Newbee.Y. Strikes me as a little bit odd, but I guess he's just getting value out of still having the quarterstaff, which he is now going to sub out. What do we got going on? The 5-man rotation down towards bottom lane. They need to get the Supernova off. That's definitely a big part of Newbee.Y's team fight here. And need the Oracle not to get jumped as well. Should be able to stay a long way back with his Aether Lens. They're going to come running in now. QD, all of his mana actually gone. Just going to get healed up a little bit off the Purifying Flames. So he's going to be alright, but...
Radiant's top tower is under
got
attack.
Concerns to deal with on the mid lane, which is getting pushed in. Top lane's also getting pushed in, so... iG.V going to back themselves up. Roshan has respawned, and they just saw the Shadow Fiend TP top. I don't know if they're going to go for this. So they have the AC already delivered on the Queen. Not quite, but it's already making its way out. Yep. Yeah, they saw Shadow Fiend go top lane, so it's Roshan time. Looks like iG.V are going to group up for a smoke or something, but it might be too late. Roshan's already dropping pretty quickly. Yeah, everybody's twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the Shadow Fiend, who's finishing his S&Y. Clink's regenerating mana. Roshan already dead. Aegis on the Phantom Lancer, another 2100 gold. And what are iG.V now going to do? I guess they might still try and take this fight, find some kind of unexpected pickoff. As Newbee.Y might disperse somewhat to go and farm some items before they look to go and make full use of this Aegis. Phantom Lancer is actually going bottom. It's a nice sight for iG.V since they had this gank squad right in the neighborhood. There is still a tier 1 tower on bottom for people to get to here if the Aegis does end up being expended. They're going to get dropped down. They lose the Phantom Lancer. Who else is in the neighborhood? It's actually just the Clinks running over. First TP down is going to be by the Oracle. But the Requiem charged up by Y-Chan blows up the Phantom Lancer immediately. Aegis has not been valuable for either team this game. Chizbug in a bit of trouble. Double's going to come in, forced to use the False Promise on himself, and they're still controlling him nicely. Going to swap him back as well just to waste the duration on his ultimate here. Looks like he is going to be popping in just a second's time. iG.V, let the death ball begin. Butterfly on this Clinks, doing some really good damage. Shadow Fiend with the S&Y, doing good damage. SCCC is going to go push up the mid lane. And with the AC, we'll be able to make some headway in on this tier 3. It looks like he's going to be the saving grace, as they do manage to force them back. They've also got the Glyph, so tier 2 bottom not going to take too much damage. They saw people coming back to defend, but nobody is moving into position to try and stop this. So it looks like it's actually just going to be pretty easy tier 2 here for Y-Chain. Gets slowed down a little bit by the spirits, but it doesn't really matter. Alright, we've got ourselves a game. Now with an experience, both moving back in a radiant direction. Phantom Lancer respawns, for whatever reason, does not have the move camera on respawn option disabled, so he's going to boot to travel to his own fountain and then have to run out to lane. So that's a couple hundred gold missed in efficiency for him, unfortunately. In good news, he is getting somewhat closer to his Scotty. Just needs to finish up the point booster here. Nightstalker running around does not have the gem, notably. They do get the silence off into the Clink, so he pops the BKB, and he's just going to look to turn this one around here. Nightstalker completely blocked off by the shards. They do have the false promise, but he's taking a ton of damage, and looks like he's just going to end up dropping. Does as much damage as he possibly can. Throws out the silence, but it's going to be a killing spree for the Clinks. And that's Hex jumping forward, looking for a little bit more. Does get silenced himself, but Clink's just going to keep on laying into them. Phoenix diving through, focusing on the Vengeful Spirit at the moment. Shadow Fiend, the Yules, is going to end up dodging the Sonic Wave. A little bit of miscoordination there, as the Phoenix is just going to awkwardly end the Supernova. Alright, just what, like off lane for support there, not the biggest deal. Where is the gem actually now? It's actually over on the... Oh, it is over on the Queen of Pain. So they did have the gem for that go on the Clinks, but unable to actually really sit and fight him all that well. I guess Queen of Pain might go for a Hex, and that might be the answer. We'll see. Picks up an Ultimate Orb. Yeah, looks like maybe Hex is going to be the solution. Clinks, Death Pact, not up for too much longer, so probably wants to head back on over to his jungle before they try and make anything happen. And Venge is still dead as well, so no huge incentive for iG.V to go and do anything here. What else is going on? Do we have any other big item pickups? We had the Scotty completed on the PL. We've seen that Ultimate Orb. We've got the gem back over on the Nightstalker now. Oracle unable to really make a whole lot of progress after the Aether Lens. Phoenix also still just sitting on the Yule Scepter. Got a Vlad's for the Vengeful Spirit. And we've got Guardian Greaves actually for the Undying, so not doing too badly. Tusk just going to go for a little bit more utility, it looks like, and does grab himself a V4 staff. Alright, now what's Clink's going for? That's the question. I guess he might just complete the data list here. We'll see. His BKB is down to 6 seconds now, which is a little bit troubling, but should still be alright, assuming that they can somewhat frontline the Tusk and the Undying. I mean, they're not that tanky, but they can at least soak some spells and help keep the Clinks safe. There's also not that many things that if you don't BKB them, you instantly die if you're the Clinks here, so you can be somewhat... You know, you can be somewhat conservative with how you BKB. Sometimes you're up against a lion or something like that, and you just have to BKB extremely early because you're always worried that there's going to be a Blink Hex and that Hex is just going to kill you. But in this case, at least until the Queen of Pain Hex comes up, you should be able to BKB somewhat late. Bit of damage on the Undying. Shadow Fiend also in the neighborhood here. Needs to be a little bit careful. He's got the BKB and the Requiem, but we've already got the jump back from the Phantom Lancer. They bring him right back into this fight with the swap, but he's got the false promise on him right now. Not going to turn and fight, actually just trying to run for it at the moment. Sonic Wave does decent damage. The Supernova is just going to end up exploding to the auto attacks. Cutie finding himself a double, now looking even further forward onto the Nightstalker. Will find himself a triple kill and the gem hitting the deck. I don't know, I think the Phantom Lancer should have just turned and fought during the duration of that Oracle ulti. They try to disengage, and that's going to be extremely difficult. Chizzbug now in trouble, going to try for the TP up, but looks like he's going to get pounced. Not even pounced, just going to get snowballed on. And we have a wicked 6 streak for Cutie, who's now going to be running around with the gem, so extra confidence for him, and pretty much a complete destruction of Newbee.Y's map controller. They at least have another gem in stock, they do indeed. And Clinks is now just going to buy a Maelstrom. Alright, so it looks like we're going to be seeing Mjolnir coming out to try and deal with this Phantom Lancer a little bit. But this PL has not really been an issue. He's got plenty of net worth, but 0, 3, and 9 and a kill to his name. Proving to be a little bit of a scaredy cat as well. Fight did not go well, and now iG.V marching up the middle lane. Is there a glyph available? It's going to be back in about 3 seconds time, so it's going to help Newbee.Y stall this out, but quick damage is mounting. This tier 3 is actually dropping extremely quickly. Not going to use the glyph just yet. Phantom Lancer forward on the front lines here. I guess probably just going to look at a butterfly as his next item potentially, if he feels like he's just getting right clipped down every single fight. Split push is still coming to their aid a little bit as these lanes continue to get pushed forward towards the Radiant base, but I really thought that Newbee.Y had a pretty firm grip on this game, but looks like I was in the wrong about that. Maybe the Hex from the Queen of Pain can start turning the tides, but iG.V have just done it so well in terms of being able to take the fight and then just stand their ground. Shadow Fiend and Clinks both just turret moding and dishing out damage, and Newbee.Y not really able to threaten them too much. Definitely see some Ghost Scepters coming out on the Newbee.Y side before too long, since it is pretty much just physical damage that they're dealing with between the Shadow Fiend and the Clinks, barring the Requiem of Souls. Night Stalker's working on Vlad's. Phoenix just buying up some wards at the moment. Gonna get those delivered. And Clinks, now reigning king of net worth, has the Mjolnir completed. Looking very, very scary, in fact. They desperately need to hex him in these fights. How long is that hex going to take? Another 600 gold? Alright. Might be worth it to wait for that if you're Newbee.Y. Roshan is going to be respawning in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. We've got the Shadow Fiend, the Mud Golem, scouting things out over there at the moment. Another big movement coming out from iG.V, running over towards mid. Pain needs to be careful. Y-Chen poking his head forward. And Dying sitting on the gem right now. Newbee.Y yet to rebuy their gem. So, in the dark somewhat. Do have a couple of observer wards around the place, but... iG.V just being extremely cautious with how they approach this. Are going to reveal themselves now. Making their way up towards the high ground. They got a decent amount of current gold. There is a glyph available for Newbee.Y, but once again, let the turret mode begin. Bit of harassment coming out, spams them back, but looks like Clink's keen to clean up this lane of Rax if he can. Pops off the static charge. Does not have a death pact up at the moment, so he needs to remedy that. Deny creep. Did Shadow Fiend dominate that for him? No, looks like he might have, yeah. So Shadow Fiend dominated the creep for him, and then he... Gonna pop the BKB, they're just looking for the lane of Rax, committing here, but can they get out safely? That's the question. Requiem popped, a little bit of lag coming in as they do bring down the Tombstone. And Newbee.Y forced to continue pursuit here. SCCC, another blink in 1 second, but looks like they're just gonna give up the chase, and that is the full lane of Rax cleaned up. Both BKBs on cooldown, but the question remains is, can Newbee.Y actually punish anything off of this? Fortunately for them, Roshan has respawned, so that might be the answer that they're looking for here. Gonna give them the Aegis and the cheese to work with. This Phantom Lancer is still just gonna continue farming up towards his butterfly at the moment, it looks like. Ring of Pain, heads into the pit, they're gonna scout things out. Looks like they're just gonna lose Chizbug immediately to 3 auto attacks. And what can they actually do? Y-Chen running in, they're gonna swap back onto the Phantom Lancer. He actually gets stunned up by the magic missile, does manage to dodge through. Really nice Sonic Wave coming in, does good damage. SCCC still dancing around the edge of this fight. The first casualty from the Radiant is going to be the Vengeful Spirit as the illusions keep on pressing forward. This is the kind of war of attrition that Newbee.Y need to look for, and it's a much more organized fight for them as well. But Clinks starts to lay into the Night Stalker, does great damage to the Phoenix Sun, waiting up on the high ground. Are they going to find any significant stuns here? No, looks like just going to have to sit back, clean up the Tombstone. 3 still alive. Hex is still available, but looks like both teams just gonna give it up. So support in an offlane for a support, numbers are gonna end up favoring iG.V overall. Bottom lane was pushing in pretty heavily, but they are not going back. They're just heading straight into the pit and looking to clean this up very quickly. Newbee.Y ceding their position. Drop the Shadow Blade on the ground, looking to pick up this Aegis and cheese. It's dropping very quickly. Newbee.Y, can they get here in time? Phoenix looking to at least get the kill on the Roche, but won't be able to grab it. Now the Snowball drags everybody out of the pit. iG.V all in position and ready to fight. Y-Chen gonna wind up the Requiem. Phantom Lancer wants to see if he can re-engage here, but I don't know if they really want to fight into the Aegis of the Immortal. Though by the same token, I don't know if they can really fight iG.V if they come a knocking and just start hitting the buildings.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
What can they really do here? I guess it's back to split pushing stations. Phantom Lancer might try for top lane. This is his vision at the moment, so he doesn't know if there's anyone waiting for him on top, and he's actually just gonna play it safe here.
Regeneration.
Clink's coming in, that's the regen, punch comes out, Tusk is keen for this kill, the rest of Newbee.Y are just around the corner, however, Clink's pokes his head forward, but it gets immediately hexed up. Good defensive force staff is going to get him a little bit further away, and now he should be able to open up with the BKB. The zombies building up as well, making it difficult for Newbee.Y to retreat. Chizbug gets caught in the midst of all of this, as they do end up picking up a beyond godlike streak. Good cutie. A little bit of lag coming out. Phoenix Sun in the middle of nowhere. Not really sure what it's doing. He's got the Yules, tries to dive away, but those auto attacks are going to follow him, and he's just going to die. Needed to Yules first, I guess, but double kill for Cutie, and it looks like this Clinks is just going to run away with the game. Another 4.7k gold. Could ditch the Soul Ring for like a Scotty, I guess.
Radiant's top
doesn't actually
tower
have
is
a
under
full
attack.
orb effect at the moment.
Radiant's top tower has
Got the
fallen.
tier 2 at the very least. Or maybe just a Hex. I think a Hex actually seems really sweet for the Clinks this game. Exactly for situations like this, but they've got the punch anyway and a bunch of damage. Fortunately that AC comes in handy for the Queen of Pain, and she's going to survive for the time being, but Clinks continues pursuit. There's going to be one more blink away, and unable to finish the kill. Alright. Maybe I'm just going to desperately stall as much time on this Aegis as they possibly can. I do have the Butterfly now up on the Phantom Lancer, so hopefully that bolsters his confidence a little bit in being able to take this fight to the Clinks. I think he probably just needs to go full man fight items from this point forward, so I guess you go Basher as your next grab on the Phantom Lancer and just hope that you can get on the Clinks and just beat him to death. I think that seems like your kind of your only and strongest option right here. They do have a new gem picked up, courtesy of Phoenix. Alright, a little bit more information to work with here. They got 3 heroes moving outside of the base, everybody else lagging behind someone as they do need to deal with middle lane. So us just going to pick up a Yule Scepter, a little bit more control there. Would have liked to see a Lotus Orb given that they've seen the Hex. Might take them a little while, and Cutie actually just straight up kills the Oracle. Looks like he did manage to get the False Promise off, but could not heal through all the damage. We get a Monkey King bar now on the Clinks. So much for that Butterfly on the Phantom Lancer. It's high ground time. Let them get into position. Y-Chan on the high ground, sieging away with the Aegis. Glyph is available. They're getting good damage onto the Shadow Fiend. They come in with the punch onto S-Triple-C. They're just going to be able to right-click him down with a couple of crits. Cutie beyond godlike buyback comes out immediately. IG just going to back themselves up a little bit. Aegis has been expended. But Phantom Lancer is still unable to commit into this fight, and the melee barracks is already gone. In just a couple of auto attacks. There's no reason for them to stick around anymore. Phantom Lancer is going to go chasing out, but iG.V doing a really good job of staying together as a group. They do get the Hex over onto the Undying, but that just opens up both of the cores to lay into S-Triple-C. He's down. Phantom Lancer realizing that it's now or never. He needs to fight, looking towards the supports, but both of the cores just auto-attacking into him. Does get the False Promise. They get the Supernova, finally getting a stun. I think that's like the first big Supernova stun that they've got this game, but it might be the last. Triple kill for the Clinks. Snowball going in, and that is going to be it. GG called by S-Triple-C. Vitality are going to be taking this best of 1 and staying alive here in the Rad&Dire Cup 2015. I really thought that Newbee.Y had this one cinched, but what do you know? The Clinks pulled through in the end. He farmed and he farmed and he farmed and he farmed and he farmed, and then he just won team fights after that. Alright, so that is going to wrap it up for this best of 1. I believe Gods is going to be back now to take over the next series, which is eHome versus Fantuan. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I think it might be the end for me as well. I need to go and take a little bit of a break. If you have any feedback, I'm Basskip. You can email me at basskipdota@gmail.com. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter. My name is up in the title. Thank you guys so much for enjoying the coverage, but make sure that you stick around. We've still got another, I think it's like another 5 lower bracket matches. I think it's 3 best of 1. It's another 4 lower bracket matches, 3 best of 1s, and a best of 3 coming your way. So still plenty of Dota action.